Branding, how do you set yourself apart? If you're being beaten up on price, it's because your branding's not in place properly. And the only time people revert to price is when there's no other difference that they can perceive. And so if you have a service writer that comes back and just says we're always more expensive, well, you may be, but he or she doesn't understand what all's going on here. And forgive this slide, I just added it because it's something that was important. We're just welcoming Greg, but who are you? This is a big question. The world today is attacking people's identities, and it's just constantly, if you can erase someone's identity, then you can get them to do anything. And so you as a shop, you need to know who you are. As an owner, you need to know who you are, regardless of your role. Who are you? I love the scene in The Gladiator when he stands up and he says who he is. And nobody can take that identity to him. Even if he was a slave, that's still not his identity. He has to know who his identity is, regardless what we're going through as company owners, regardless what our day looks like. I love how Ryan said it's Tuesday. What could possibly happen? Yeah, we as long as we know who we are, we can get through it. Some of you asked, well, how can you be an Ironman? How can you go out and do 140 miles? Well, can you imagine whatever tasks I come up against that following week? If I've just done an Ironman, I can do anything. And so it's that mentality. I'm like, I'm an Ironman. That's part of my identity. So you as a shop owner, as long as you know who you are as a shop, then no one can take that away from you. And your customers and clients are going to see that. It'll come through. So are you the right choice? You have to decide now if you're a good choice for the customer. Is your shop the right choice for them? So I had a personality test done when I was in sales back in Dallas, Texas, 15 years ago, before I started my company 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I guess. But I had a personality test done, and the CEO of the company called and wanted to talk to me. And our CEO also got in on the call, and they said, Sam should be a horrible salesperson. And he said, he's our number one sales guy. He's like, what? Everything. And we went through it, and he said, all indicators say that he should be a bad salesperson. But it was my moral compass that I wouldn't allow my customer to make the wrong decision. So,
and that's what makes you a good salesman.
That's right. Because I'm so convinced that what I have is right for the client or the customer, I don't let them make the wrong decision. And if they are making the wrong decision, I'll just be blunt with them and tell them, look, you're making the wrong decision. I'll forgive you when you come back in a year and you start doing business with us. Jesse knows this one because he had just signed up with another marketing company when he met me. And so I was just very open, saying, hey, the door's open when you're able to make the right choice. So you have to decide today. Your service writers need to make that same decision that you are the right choice for the customer to make. Are you the best in the industry? That's a different question. Are you the right choice for that customer? Yes, you are, or else it needs to change. So you need to do your interior SWOT analysis if you or your service writer doesn't feel for some reason you're not the right choice. But you need to morally have that register that you are the right choice for the customer, because it will come through. And then why are you the right choice? And then to illustrate what a big deal this is, in the Old Testament, Moses goes to the mountain. And so when he sees God, he says, who are you that I could tell the children of Israel sent me? And he said, I am. So out of all the identities that God could choose, he said, I am. He knows who he is. He knows his identity. And so it's that important for you to know who your identity is. And when you're talking to yourself, you have your self-talk. And there's one customer I really wish was on right now. When you have yourself speak, you have to be positive and you have to say, I am the right choice. And like I say, if you're not the right choice, you need to fix whatever it is to make it so that your shop is the right choice. because if you decide for even a minute that you're not the right choice, all of a sudden your service writers will make the same decision, your techs will make the same decision, and you'll have an absolute massive meltdown on your hands. So we've all seen that with other shops. So I did want to cover that. Like I say, that's just a last minute thing. You have to know who your identity is. And if you can't figure it out, give me a call privately, because you all have my cell phone number. Give me a call privately and we'll work on that. Even person to person. If you're struggling with that, give me a call, because not only, am I your branding company, your marketing company? Hey, we're also peers. Other people have done me a solid, and I'm willing to do you a solid on a personal level if you're struggling. So this is it. Life is a team sport. Brand building. So I'm going to break this down into different classifications because it's easier to understand. Your visual identity, your logo, your font, the colors, all that kind of fun stuff is your visual identity. You have your golden arches from McDonald's. These are all logos and fonts. When we get to brand messaging, this is your voice, it's your blog, it's your social media, anything that is spoken either verbally or non-verbally, that is your brand message. Your target audience, your brand message, and everything else needs to follow along with this. So Modern Auto, for instance, I'm glad you're on, but their target audience is different than like Jesse's in Oklahoma. So we just did this huge social media outreach with Jesse for the rodeo tickets. We all talked about that. And, we had to have a different tone than Modern Auto does. Modern Auto has a very savvy customer that knows what they're talking about. They all kiss their car goodnight before they go to bed. It's a different experience that we're talking about, and it's a different target audience. So some of the social media that we share with Modern Auto, we don't share with Oklahoma folks, and Oklahoma folks, we don't share the same as we do with Florida folks. So it's all, just depends on your target audience. JP Euro, when we're talking about Lambos and Ferraris, we have a very different brand voice than when we're talking Toyota. The intentions on, well, what can I do to get by, are not spoken by Ferrari people. So we call them Ferrari people, we call them Tesla people. We all know these BMW people. We all know the typicals of those brands. So we have to be aware of who our target audience is when we're saying those things. And so your social media, when we put that together, we have that in mind. So keep that in mind, that we are talking to your audience. Your positioning, brand positioning is very important. And you'll see this especially at Target. As much as I hate that brand, when you're looking at different products within Target, you have some that are all about eco. It'll say on the package, it doesn't say how great the soap is, but it'll say that the packaging is recycled, that this wasn't tested on live animals. It'll talk about how strong they are eco, and the packaging will be brown and green instead of vibrant colors. That's their eco positioning. You can do that as an auto shop if you want. That's a legitimate way to go. But understand your target audience, and if eco is a way to push it, then you can certainly push that. If you're not eco, if you're all about more power, we've seen Top Gear, and everything's more power with one of the cast members, but that's positioning. That's his position. Emotional appeal. And I just put little examples next to some of these. Disney uses nostalgia. Remember when you're a kid? They're trying to turn everyone back to when they were a kid. And there was a chiropractor that we did branding for, that we set up a checkered floor. We set up a soda station. We set up checkerboards and games, so that people would remember their glory days when they went into the chiropractor. This is in Florida. These are people that are over 65, and they go in there hurting, but it was amazing how the ambiance of the place changed when we were taking people back to their glory days. And so that is an appropriate emotional appeal. You can also have emotional appeal with the more power, with fine-tuned auto, for instance. If you're talking about, driving should be fun. And if you're talking about a fun driving experience, that's a different emotion that you're evoking. And so your brand message has to evoke that emotion. The blog that's going out this month for Fine Tuned Auto is, I believe it's the seven wow drives of Colorado. So you're going for more of a fun theme and making driving fun, and it's an enjoyable experience. You're not talking to commuters. So I hope everybody sees these different emotions. So it's based on who you are first, and then your target audience, and then you know what to say to them because you can picture in your mind who you're talking to. Cultural and social. Ben and Jerry's made a very big statement when people were rioting in Washington a couple years ago, and they took over a police station and they shut down city blocks, and Ben and Jerry's went and took them food. That showed that they were in support of that movement. When Ford defund the police, probably not their smartest marketing move because I see so many cop cars that are Fords, but they showed that's their social involvement. They back that. When Michael Jordan backs inner city kids, that's part of his culture and his brand is that he supports the underdog and the inner city kids. And so wherever you're putting your money, if you're funding golf tournaments and that type of thing, that's part of your cultural and social environment and involvement. So all those things are important. Don't support things that you don't support. Just because, some cute little girl came and said, "Hey, we're raising money for this." If you don't agree with it, don't support it as a company because it can be a bad thing. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. All right. So we're going to jump right into this. So wish JP was on. He'll watch this later, I'm sure. But I took this picture at JP Euro. And so does anyone notice anything about the floor?
Like my waiting room.
Tile.
Yeah, it's meticulous. This shop is meticulous. Everything about his shop is meticulous. So what makes your shop different? If I'm talking about JP Euro, I'm going to talk about how meticulous it is, how they concentrate on the details. This is part of his brand. When someone comes to a shop, he says, well, now he does it. This is part of our sales training, but his service writers take the people in a little golf cart and they take them around and they show them where their vehicle is going to get worked on. They show them all the details. They said, this is our body shop. This is where we're going to do the disassembly. This is where we clean the parts, and everything is beautiful. This is where we train our technicians. He shows them the training room, and it's all in the details and the experience. And so when they leave their car, they know, or their vehicle, they know that it'll be taken care of because they've seen it. So there's power in that. That's part of his brand experience. When you go in, they do have bottles of water, but they have legit refreshments that you would actually want. So he knows who his customers are. So do people that drive these, do they eat Oreos? No, they don't eat Oreos. So he has food that they would want. He has Nature Valley bars and different things like that the people that drive these things will eat. So being aware of your customers, you just keep them in mind when you stock your yard, so to speak. So what makes your shop different? For him, it's an experience. It's an entire experience doing business with him, clear down to the thank you cards that he sends out at the end. Training and certifications. Training can be what makes you different. If you're talking about ASE certified, a lot of folks are, but are they AAA? And are they certified on the equipment that they use? That's one of the things that JP does is he has different equipment for tuning vehicles. And so he talks about that. That's part of his brand is the additional certifications. So on his postcard, it doesn't just say certifications, but it says brand specific certifications. So that's a whole different layer that people aren't used to seeing. So one word that I need for everybody to understand is platitudes. Don't be offended if I say that it's a platitude. A platitude is something it's a general term that could apply anywhere. So if you say best shop in town, that's a platitude. Anybody can say that. If you say highest trained Toyota mechanics in town, you're being more specific. Not everyone's going to say that. If you say McLaren tuning certified, not everyone can say that. You're just being more specific. And the more specific you are, the better you're going to sell to specific owners. Your warranty, JP offers a 4-year, 48,000-mile warranty. So that is, excuse me, that is something that is part of his brand. But he knows that his ROI is going to come back to him on that he's going to do well with that. Loaners and valets, this is something that Jesse doesn't have a lot of competition with. So we push that he's a company where you can get a loaner. That can be part of what makes you different. Open late or on the weekends. If you stack your shifts to where one of your guys comes in late and your assistant service writer comes in late, then you can offer longer hours for not a lot of money. Not everybody has to be there, is what I'm getting at. If they're just dropping off for the next day, you can stay until 8. And especially in metro areas, you're going to be amazed at the additional business that you pick up just because you're not working banker's hours. So that can be part of what makes your shop different. And your community and charitable events, J&G Transmissions, for instance, we have Pumpkin Palooza coming up. Well, I know we've talked about Pumpkin Palooza, where they have a local high school auto shop come in and they have a pumpkin carving contest together. They have to use auto shop parts and shop tools to carve their pumpkins in less than 10 minutes. And it's really fun. Everybody looks forward to it every year. They also sponsor rodeos. If you're Girl or Boy Scouts, 4-H, whatever it may be, it has to be contiguous with your brand. It has to be something that supports what you're talking about. So reliability can be what makes you different. If you have a 4-year, 48,000-mile warranty, are you a reliable company? Yes, you are. You're putting your money where your mouth is. If you're budget minded, then that can be what sets you apart. If you're just say, hey, we know what can get you by, that may not be your tagline, but if that's one of the prices that you give when you're giving multiple pricing, then that can absolutely be part of what makes your shop different. They don't need a second opinion if they feel like they've gotten what they need. So this is a price that can get you by, and this is the price for the service we recommend that'll get you 3 years, 36,000 miles. Or they have to understand the difference. And are you fast? If you can get them in and out the same day, that makes you different. If you're eco-friendly, just say, hey, we recycle our oil. There's not a drop of fluids that goes out here that's not recycled or reused. That can be something that you talk about. In Colorado, that's a very big deal. And so renewability can be part of what makes your shop different. If you have a dog sitting area outside of your shop, it just has to, you just put a little sign out there that says dog resting area, and people can take their dogs out there where they're not going to annoy people and they can rest and all that kind of fun stuff. But if you're a dog or pet friendly shop, that can be part of what makes you different. You just have to start being more creative. And Sarah and I talked about this the other day. If you're looking at different ways of looking at things, you can start. Sarah had recommended that you start with, what is the worst possible thing that you could use for your campaign? And one of the questions I asked, what is the most annoying thing about getting your car worked on? If you've ever sat there with a barking dog next to you and you hate dogs, that's not a good experience. So if you create a dog sitting area outside, then that person can be happy and the dog person can feel like they're being placated to, and you have a little dog treat and say, hey, your dog rest area is outside, here's your treat. They feel like they've actually been focused on instead of nudged out. So if you look at the worst parts of the experience and focus on them, they can actually become some of your greatest marketing ploys. Location, if you have a great location, that absolutely can set your shop apart. If you're more convenient than another shop, you can talk about that. And once again, location can also dictate your demographics and psychographics, like where Greg is there in Rockledge. You know that the majority of his clientele is over 65. And so you immediately know who you need to point your marketing at. So We making sense, everyone? You getting some ideas? Yeah, so I'm not going to cover everything because this is literally a 2-day seminar and fitting in an hour, but this should spark some creative fluids. And for our one-on-one calls, just take notes and we'll talk about all these in our one-on-one calls. And Sarah, I want to talk about this sooner than later with fine-tuned. Okay, so, and that's a 1-on-2 call usually. Your logo, your brand, we're going to send this out even to people that aren't clients. So we creatively covered some of these. But we have a brand builder that we use. And so it's systematized. Everything in our company is systematized. When we build a brand or a logo, we go through this questionnaire and we want it to feel like you want it to feel like. So is it earthy? Is it powerful? All these use different colors, different palettes, different shapes. And I can send this out to you, but we have to ask those questions so that we can build a brand or logo so we make it contiguous with what's in your mind. And so is it classic? Is it reliable? Those are all different feelings that can be evoked from different colors. So if we look at different shapes, so why would John Deere use green? Anyone?
Grass.
Grass. Yeah, they're growing stuff, right? Everyone that buys a John Deere is growing something. And this was etched in my head. I was raised by a farmer's daughter. And so when it came time for me to buy a riding mower, yes, everyone, I mow my own lawn and I love it. What brand did I buy? Did I buy a Cub Cadet? No. It was burned in me that I had to own a John Deere from when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, just small, And so even though Cub Cadet might have had a better engine, maybe even better reviews, I was still going to buy a John Deere. So the branding is very important there. The colors, and yellow is a dominant color. It means that you're dominant over your growth is really what it means. And when it first came out in 1873, it was black and white. That was their registered trademark, was black and white. And then obviously they hired somebody smarter than them and they turned it green and yellow. It's actually had 4 revisions over the years, but here we are. Google. Does anyone know what Google means, the actual term, where that came from?
Like infinity, right? Or some giant number.
Yes, it is the number 100 followed by, the number 10 followed by 100 zeros. So it came from the number Googleplex, which is infinity plus 1, basically. And so it can be anything. And at the time when Google came out, it was going to be the end all answer all, and it really has become that. They have lived up to that brand. And they built about 6 brands at the same time, which Google was by far the most successful. The other ones you almost haven't even heard of. Yeah, so, but you see that they have multiple colors, and it's in a very simple font. So they wanted something that was very simple and user-friendly and that everybody could use. And so that is why it's built that way. That's what this logo communicates. And so if you're looking for in your own auto shop, if you want it to be simple and for everyone to be able to use, look for simple fonts, simple colors. Pierce Family Auto, this might be something that they're looking at just because, it's a family thing. They want to, you don't really necessarily dumb it down, but that's what you're going for, is you want everybody to have a user-friendly experience. They want to take all the questions out of it. When you look at this, do you have any questions? No, it's not complex at all. And they'll even take and just use the G now because they're continuing to simplify their process. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into presentation mode so that I can share my cool animations. If everybody can see this, you see that? Okay. But logo symbolism is very important. And I spent a lot of money to learn this, so listen up. Okay, so here's even our logo. So yes, I do practice what I preach. And in the 11 logo, there are 3 E's. There's the expert, the entrepreneur, and the end user. And they all have to be equal and even, or else we can't do business. And so as I built this all went into my logo. It wasn't an overnight thing. It took me a long time to build this. And as I built it, that's why I built it, is because it even says what I do inside my logo. So when people ask, what makes your company different? All of you know that when you go through the onboarding process, it's more difficult with our company, but that's because we're putting all the power in your hands. Everybody on this call has their username and password for everything. You own everything. So if I built my own auto shop, I would want the keys to the kingdom. I would want everything. And so that's how we built it. Everybody is equal and even. The entrepreneur is not above the end user, so you're not taking advantage of your marketplace. In fact, all of our clients, we highly recommend them, and that's what marketing is we're recommending you to the marketplace. So at the very core, if you're doing your customers wrong, guess what? We have a talk. And if that talk doesn't go well, then we part ways. It's just the way that it is. We can't recommend a carnivorous company to the marketplace. Continuing with symbolism, Nike, it came from the Greek goddess Nike, who is the goddess of victory. And this symbol is her wing. And so when you use Nike, what they're saying is you have assured victory. And so for thousands of years, this has been a symbol of victory. And so they actually did a great job with their symbolism and their marketing. As much as, well, I'm not going to go into what Nike is doing now, but the original founders did great with that company. So they should have stuck with Michael Jordan and his philosophies. Let's put it that way. There's another concept called rewarded comprehension that is very fun. So we already talked about some of the shapes that you can use in your logo. Rewarded comprehension, FedEx has done a great job. They spent about $11 million doing this. And when everyone sees how simple it is, you're like, I can't believe you spent $11 million doing that, but here we are. And so FedEx, can everybody see this arrow here? So they built this font just so they could have that arrow in there. And everybody that sees that now, I can't look at a FedEx logo without looking for the arrow. And your brain literally rewards you for finding it. Every time you see it, you're going to find it. Every time you look at our logo, you're going to see the 11 in it. And your brain's going to reward you for that. It's going to say, good job, you found that again. And so rewarded comprehension is a real thing, and we really use it in logos. And we don't charge you $11 million for it. But they used to be Federal Express, and they were really hard about calling themselves anything else until someone finally hired a good branding company and they said, well, what do your customers call you? They call us FedEx. And so they dropped it to FedEx, and they are way better known in the industry than Federal Express or United Parcel Service. Has anyone ever used that term, United Parcel Service? No one ever does. They call them UPS. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So as we're working on your logo, keep in mind all of these things. And as we work on your logo, which, by the way, is included, any of the graphic art that you want to do, it's included in your contract. We're not upselling anything. So it's important to know. And if you want sub-brands, which are logos for services, like if Fine Tuned Auto, for instance, had, well, what's that? So like J&G Transmissions, we'll just do that one because we did this for them. We built a fast lane service for them. So you can bring your transmission in and have them rebuild it. It'll take 3 to 5 days, depending on what, parts availability and stuff. Or you can bring in your vehicle and have one that's already rebuilt, and they pop it in and you're gone, same day. And so that's called the fast lane service. And so we branded that for them. And so their tagline, we talk about taglines, their tagline is updated transmissions. So you can have your transmission rebuilt anywhere in the Salt Lake City area. They're the only shop that can update it. So when you need a new cell phone, do you get the same model or do you get an updated one? Everybody updates things now, so we update them with bill of parts. You say, okay, well, this particular part that wore out is plastic. Does it make sense to go back with a metal one? And absolutely. So now you're talking about a $500 upgrade on your transmission. It is gravy for them, and they're actually doing a better job. You need a new transmission cooler with that. You know, it opens the door for upsells. And it's better for the customer because they know that their trans is going to last long enough for them to offer a different warranty. And so they offer a better warranty than anyone else in the area because they're using billet steel. They're using better parts. So does everyone see how that all plays? Yep. So taglines, everyone knows BMW. BMW actually started out as an aviation company. I don't know if everybody knew that, but the logo here, this is actually from a propeller. And so when you're looking at the BMW logo, you're like, oh, that's a propeller. That's okay. That's cool. That's different. But that's why their logo is like that. It used to be sky and clouds. And so their tagline is the ultimate driving machine. And that came down from being the ultimate flying machine. So that's their tagline. When you buy a BMW, that's what you can expect as a customer, is that you're going to get the ultimate driving machine. And so it's also a brand promise in their tagline. So you can combine all those things to where BMW did that. You can also incorporate, I skipped up here. So we define our core values. If you have a core value of not letting anything leave without quality control, then you need to communicate that nothing leaves without a QC. And so you can communicate that and we'll turn around and make it catchy. I'll give you a bunch of examples. And because everybody on here is a client, if you want to talk about any of these, or if you want to grab any of these or a component thereof, you can go ahead and do that. So your unique selling proposition, this is, it's what's different. So every one of you, when I talked to you initially, I said, we're the only automotive marketing shop that will grant or that will offer a protected area, an exclusive area. We're the only ones that'll do that. That's one of our unique selling propositions. We're also the only one that you own all of your assets. And so that's also another unique selling proposition. So yes, I eat my own soup, my own medicine, drink my own Kool-Aid, so to speak. We use that and it really works. So our close ratio is far higher than any other auto shop marketing company in the country. That's one of the reasons, is because we have a unique selling proposition. So when you're talking to people, say, we're the only shop in town that can get you in and out the same day if you're rebuilding a transmission, or if you're replacing a transmission. Those are bold statements, but that is your unique selling proposition. Like we were talking about earlier with having happy customers, instead of customer satisfaction, it's customer happiness. When you take that paradigm and you shift it to customer happiness, it's a different ballgame. And you say, we guarantee that everyone's going to leave happy, or we'll give you a $50 gift card. That's a unique selling proposition. So me personally, as a customer, I would trust that. Once again, avoid platitudes in that. It's not unique if you're using the same thing everyone else does. Innovation can actually be part of your proposition. When I said updated transmissions, you can absolutely use updated auto repairs. If you train your service writers to say, we don't want this to fail again, so instead of using an OEM part, is it okay if we use an aftermarket part that was adapted to recognize this problem? That is going to sell a repair. If I'm talking to a service writer and he says, we're really sorry, Mr. Sadler, that you're having this issue. That was a plastic part that broke. Is it okay if we go back with metal? 100%, I'm going with that company, even if they're $100 more, because they know what the problem was. They're helping me resolve the issue so that I don't come back. And they probably have a customer for life, by the way, if they say that. So your phraseology is very important with your branding, and you see why. Let's see, incorporating emotion. Coke, they say open happiness. And McDonald's, I'm loving it. They're using emotions. Instead of a brand promise, they're using emotions. So it's okay to use an emotion. Make driving fun again is absolutely an emotion, and it's a brand promise all in the same way. And by the way, that is available. It's not trademarked or copyrighted. test and refine. So when we launch it, we don't put it all in print all at the same time. We test it out first and see how the customers and our clientele respond to it. And if they don't respond well, then we'll refine it. I don't have an ego when it comes to marketing. I have an ego when it comes to our quality and what we put into it. But I don't have an ego when it comes to, hey, we're going to put this out, try it. And if the marketplace rejects it, then I was wrong. So we have to put out there whatever the marketplace is going to respond to. So we test it and then we refine it if we need to. So very rarely do we have to refine it, but if we do, we refine it. So can everybody raise their hand if they can admit that they're wrong once? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as a leader, you have to admit that you're wrong. So if you're not admitting you're wrong, then your customers and your employees are probably going to say bad things behind you. So examples, Lamborghini says, expect the unexpected. That is their tagline. And Ferrari, we are the competition. I love theirs, and it's edgy, and it's injected with testosterone before it's injected with high octane fuels. I mean, it's awesome. I love we are the competition. So auto repair tagline examples, every single one of these are not trademarked. They're not copyrighted. So these are ones I literally just threw out in about 15 minutes while I was given some ideas. So if you're like, hey, Mr. ADHD, what were you doing last night? This is what I was doing. So where performance meets the road, that's a tongue-in-cheek. Tongue-in-cheek is quite popular with taglines because it takes a memory and it attaches it to a value. So you're taking something that they're already familiar with and you're attaching to that. And so tongue-in-cheek is very effective in marketing. That's so we're used to where the rubber meets the road, which you really could, but someone already owns that. So where performance meets the road actually one-ups it. When safety is a priority, if you're sitting there with two prices and the customer's looking at it and it says, well, when safety is a priority, we offer this. That is a differentiator right there. They can see that there's a difference because you're like, well, if you're really concerned about the safety of your vehicle, you really should, instead of having your rotors machined, you should replace them. If you live in Colorado or Utah or Idaho, you really should replace your rotors, not have them machined. So when safety is a priority, that's when you would pay that extra money. It kind of closes for you, and your marketing should close for you. Fast fixes, lasting repairs. So more than just auto repair, a better auto repair experience. Once again, you're justifying why you're more expensive because in this life, isn't it pretty much that you get what you pay for? And if somebody is balking over price, your service writer absolutely needs to know that line. Isn't it true that you pretty much get what you pay for in life? And so I'm not, we don't have the most expensive marketing agency for automotive. I know that, but I know that I'm more expensive than the AI generated $600 a month ones. But I'm pretty sure that we get what we pay for in life. So I can certainly justify that. And your shop should be able to as well. We make drivers happy, or we make happy drivers, driven by experience. Greg, you're an engineer, and you can absolutely throw your engineer card down. Just say, imagine if an auto shop had an engineer running it. And so you're talking about excellence. You're talking about design. You're talking about, well, of course, if an engineer is fixing my car, it's not only overkill, it's awesome. So we can talk about those things with Guaranteed Auto, but throwing down your engineer card is really cool. I had a client once that really was a rocket engineer. And, and so his tagline, yes, I really am a rocket scientist. So he had gone out and started his own business, but that was a great tagline for him. Yes, I really am a rocket scientist. A green light to a road trip. Performance is in the details. That would be a great one for fine-tuned auto. performance is in the details. Is it, I love that one. I actually thought of your company when I thought of that. I was like, oh, that would be so good. Your Adventures Pit Stop, Blaze New Trails, Awesome Road Trips Start Here. That's a different demographic. If you have a younger demographic like Denton, Texas, if you're a college town, Awesome Road Trips Start Here. That's a great one for you. Bumper to bumper, anything. So you take bumper to bumper and you can throw pretty much in anything in there. Bumper to bumper excellence, whatever it is that your brand is that you want to pop in there, or bumper to bumper fun. You bumper to bumper is great because you can partner with pretty much anything. For your well-oiled machine, once again, you're tongue-in-cheek, you're grabbing something, the well-oiled machine, and you're just saying for your well-oiled machine because, well, it's also a play on words because you oil machines. So because you love your car, because your car is worth it, you're saying that you're different because your car is worth it. And so no one, if they get a great price, then they're like, hey, I thought these guys would be more expensive. The big question should be, can they afford you? America's Favorite Pit Stop, Automotive Health Spa, that gives a totally different vibe. You can have a car with cucumbers on its headlights and a little towel on its head. You can have a lot of fun with that one. Fixed right the first time is absolutely an accurate tagline, to where if you have people that are undercutting you in price around your neighborhood, fixed right the first time, that's a weapon. So we're hoping to weaponize all of your marketing. So, okay, I'm going to open it up to questions now that I can see everyone's brains are just going. So, questions.
So colors, is it best to stick with a maximum of 3 colors? I was
Yes.
noticing that Google pretty well violated that rule, but everything else you showed had like 2 to 3 colors.
Yeah, we try to keep your colors at a minimum. And you'll see like this in the background is the same color as my logo. So especially when you're doing mailers and things like that, we want to keep your colors at a minimum because it flows better. And they know when something comes from FedEx, it's always in these colors, even if it doesn't say FedEx. And like you see right here where it says taglines, this is a font that we built off of our logo. So if I have asked you what fonts are in your logo, that's why. It's so that we can use it in other parts of your marketing. It's more contiguous. So modern, we could actually build a font right off of their logo, and everything can be written in titles off of their logo. So you see the attention to detail that we have here. We actually have special symbols and everything. That's designed by a marketing company. See these little hashes through the N? That is actually an L on its side that hash through different letters. And it makes our job way easier because we can type anything. And it is already contiguous with your brand. We do that. That's not an upsell. It's already included in your price. Just make us do it.
What kind of an interval? I mean, I know there's a lot of people that kind of go through a refresh periodically with branding, but then there's some of these that are just tried and true and have been the same forever. How do you determine that kind of thing?
There are different things outside of us that can be factors. So you remember, I'm kind of dating myself here, but when we went to Operation Desert Storm when I was in high school, some of the brands changed to support the military because it'd been a long time since we'd been to a real war. And so that would have been a good time to change your brand to a camouflage. There are different things that happen in the world that shift all of humanity, and your brand can change with it. But sometimes there are innovations within your company. There are changes in management. There are changes in ownership. Those are all opportunities to change your brand. So sometimes it's exterior outside of your company, but sometimes it's interior. So modern, I love your brand. I don't think that we need to mess with it for a long time. But there are technological breakthroughs that will force changes in branding. Like for instance, with fine tuned, if there are innovations that come out in computing or things like that, those things can force a brand change, and especially shifts, for instance, politically. So we went through something 4 years ago that I've never seen politically. Just like all of a sudden, everyone hated the South. Anything that was Dixie, they changed the name of Dixie State University in Utah, and everything Dixie was all of a sudden bad, or had a stigma to it. Those are all things that we have to pay attention to in our brand. So if we're Dixie Auto, then that's something that we had to pay attention to. You're like, well, are we committed to it, or do we need to change it? So sometimes there are exterior factors, sometimes there are interior factors that make us change those things. So when I went to the Alabama concert last year, they didn't play Song of the South. Crazy, because that's my
Sweet
favorite.
potato pie. Shut my mouth.
Yeah. So, but especially if your ratings are tanking on Google, for instance, you're getting like 4s and 3s, and something needs to change. It's time for a rebrand. You can rebrand then, come out with a new tagline and change your colors, different things like that, and people they'll take another look at you. So I know that that when Starbucks stock started hurting, they rebranded. They didn't change everything, but they changed the logo. It had more black in it than green and different things like that. So when you need a shift in your sales or when your reputation is damaged, it's really good. Like after the Valdez oil spill, does anyone know who was at fault?
Exxon.
Yes, Exxon, but they changed their brand. And so they changed their logo, they changed all kinds of things. They spent about $100 million rebranding after the Valdez oil spill. So when you make big problems, that's 100% need to rebrand.
I don't want to cut anybody else off if they have another question, but I've got one if nobody else does. I started just thinking about our like customer waiting area. When you were talking about like a little dog walking area, or anyways, I'm just kind of stuck in a weird spot there. We used to have a kids area. We still have a kids area, but then that was an appeal to something I had a lot of focus on at the beginning, and then we realized, man, encouraging waiters is kind of crappy, and so just that kind of shift. So I'm just kind of stuck in this blah spot with the layout of our office, and I'm hesitating to jump right into redesigning it until I get kind of a big picture idea. But any suggestions you have for I kind of wrote down a note of like how could we solve a problem, improve the experience with the customer, but any advice on how to take an assessment of that and try to dial that in to align with our customers?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I would look at your target customer. And then do they have dogs? Do they have, are they bringing in children? Are they coming while their kids are at school? What are their needs and what do they look like? So I'd start looking at your customers for a couple weeks and see, who they are and what they're bringing with them when they come. So that'd probably be my first stop. And then modern, you've already identified who you are in the marketplace because you're Modern Auto. So everything has to be modernized about your shop. It can't be nostalgic at all. It has to all be modern. I would look at JP Euros. I can send you an image of that. I'll make a note to do that. But everything is very modern, sleek, and they have work areas. So they actually have 2 desks that someone can sit down, throw their laptop in. They have Wi-Fi. They can get work done while they're there. And so everything is very modern.
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring, because I have like a tailgate bench, which is a very non-modern thing. And
Yes.
it looks good and it gets comments all the time, but I'm like, I have these competing messages in there. So yeah, I'd love some
I love your
examples.
Yeah,
tailgate
but-
finish, by the way.
Can I say something
ahead.
about that?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
So with your tailgate being something that's old, you actually put a modern spin on it. So even though it looks modern and or I mean, it looks old and it came from that. Personally, like I like that mix of doing that. That's a modern way of doing things. A lot of people now are redoing things and upcycling things. So from a
Hmm.
woman's standpoint, coming in and seeing that is super cool, and guys like it too because it's car related. So
Cool.
just wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you.
So
Mhm.
something that's upcycled, I like that you use that. We actually did a campaign for about a week for one of our other clients of just examples of upcycling auto parts, and it turned out really cool. And so you can do that and encourage upcycling, and your clientele absolutely would love that. It just needs to be placed. I'm not an interior designer by any means. It needs to be placed in a way that wouldn't draw from the general feel of what you have going.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any more questions?
I
Hey,
have a
Corey,
tagline idea
your tagline
for,
idea, go ahead.
for us. Where did it go? Hold on. Something along this line, but like playing off of the mountains. Sorry, my phone wants to ring a second. I'm speaking. Like reliable repairs for the mountains ahead,
Yeah,
which would kind of bring in the experience of being in Colorado, but also that we always reference mountains when we're talking about rough terrain in our lives. So it could be a double play. I like something like that.
absolutely. And once you
Well,
find your favorite part of your tagline, if you want to
Mhm.
just, match it up with other things and see, they're like, well, maybe maybe I need to change out the first part of it, or once you find you're like, oh, the mountains ahead. I love that. I think it's fantastic. And so I would just start interchanging different things for the mountains ahead, whether it be reliable repairs or whatever it may be. But I love for the mountains ahead. I think that's genius. Good job.
I came up with one too a few days ago. My vehicle repair expert.
Because you are the expert.
Well, then as the customer reads that, what are they telling themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So Corey, I see you just jumped on. I'll send you a recording of it. We're just
Yeah,
about
I
wrapped up
apologize.
here.
I got my times mixed up. I thought it was 1 o'clock my time, not noon, so I apologize.
It's okay. A lot of people have center of the universe syndrome.
And I'm guilty of that.
That's awesome. So we live in a big country. So yeah, I'll get it sent to you and you won't miss a beat.
Thank you.
So did you have any questions on branding or taglines, Corey?
I kind of feel like maybe if I came in right now, I'd kind of be hijacking the whole thing. So, the 30 seconds that I've been here, I think that there's a lot of really good things on there. Like it never really, I guess, dawned on me to try to like brand the tagline versus just like the whatever it is, like the logo that you have.
Yeah, so it does make a difference, as we were talking about, and anybody else that has questions, let us know. But it helps your sales guys in their presentation for sure. People know what to
Yeah.
expect because it's part of your brand promise.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I'll get this sent to you. Does
Yeah,
anyone else
I
have any other
apologize.
questions? If not, I
One
can
more.
just, what's that?
As far as just like, would you encourage like a tagline, or is it something that a couple for different scenarios, or what any thoughts there for that?
When we were talking about sub branding earlier, if you have you can have a tagline for another service. And so, we have, for instance, that updated transmissions. And then we have different sub brands as well. The fast lane service I talked about.
Yep.
So we have a different tagline for that. And so with those little sub brands, you know, say fast lane service, and you know, everybody here, now that we just talked about it, could come up with a tagline for that. You know, when you have to get back on the road quickly or whatever it may be, that's what you're saying with your tagline. So yeah, you can have multiple taglines for multiple sub brands. So there's Nabisco, and then there's Oreo. They own that too. It's a sub brand, so they have a different tagline for Oreo. Yeah, we'll build it like a Fortune 500 company. It's not, but your different services, if you brand your different services, they will sell for more. They're worth more. So you can have a transmission rebuild, or you can update your transmission. It's worth 10% more because it's updated. And that is real ROI. So my dad, he said, something's not worth more just because you say it's worth more. And I'm like, I disagree. So yeah, exactly. So I don't have to sell y'all on branding because you know that it works. Do you pay the same amount for And One shorts as you do for Air Jordan? It might even be coming from the same manufacturer in China, but you're paying more for Jordan because it says Jordan on it than you do for And One. It's just that way. So same with Audi and VW. They're made in the same factory, but you'll pay more for Audi. So does anybody else have any other questions? I can stay on with anybody that has more questions, but we'll just let everyone else go because I promised you to keep it in an hour. Did everyone find value in that?
I did.
Yes.
Awesome. So Beth
Very
and
good.
Mike,
Thank you.
how about Beth and Mike? Are you there? There's Beth. How's it going, Beth?
Good,
Good.
good.
So we're just finishing up with this branding call, but did you want to share how your business is doing this week?
I sent Sam an email earlier in the week to say, please turn it down. I cannot keep up with everything that's coming in. So when it clicks, it clicks. So
That is so
Beth,
awesome.
how many times have you
Congratulations.
sent, Beth, how many times have you sent that email in the past?
never. No,
So-
we were, oh, it's crazy.
I'm glad Beth came on because Beth, we did a swap for her and her husband a while back, and they were with somebody else, and they said, we want to give them a chance, which I respect that. But when cars just weren't coming in, they just said, well, we have to do what's right for our business. And what's happening now?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Mhm.
yeah, we love you and Mike. You're awesome. We're super excited to see your company growing again. That's the way it needs to be.
Ooh, we are too.
So, yep. And so I'm going to send a thank you to Michael and Tiffany for telling you to come on our way. We appreciate that. So good people telling good people about us. That's awesome.